Ulonga tabati yada to ye ko madaifa. Inu to ye ko je love baby pa. Oba tala, oba takutakun. Songo eshu, ogun oya osun. Kini sheshe, tan she nile yo. O jalo jara.
Alafia, peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Welcome to another episode of the Afro Spirituality Experience. I'm your host, Orisha Bami, and we're back with another one, tribe. And shout out to the Patreon community, shout out to the new channel subscribers, shout out to everybody who was able to make it to last week's call. Definitely powerful call, powerful energy exchange, and definitely looking forward to making it do what it do. Again, we got a heavy week. This week we'll be here today, tomorrow, Thursday. I think we might be here this weekend too. But anywho, without further ado, please welcome Miss Millie Cruz-Reynoso. Peace and blessings, Millie. How you doing? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Uh-oh.
You just froze. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I hear you now.
Everything is freezing up.
Yeah. And that's what we were dealing with before we came on, tribe.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine. It sounds like
okay.
Past interference going on, but look, we're gonna do our best to work through it because we're not new.
Yes.
We're not new to this. We true to this. It be happening, and it happens. It seems like a little too often, but we're gonna push through and make it do what it do and be what it be. Mm-hmm. But no, I was just introducing you and giving a shout out to everybody who was able to make it to the private community call that you graciously joined us with and dropped some jewels with us on this past Saturday. So I was pretty much just giving a shout out to you and the tribe and the tribe on the channel and the tribe, here with us tonight.
Yes. Well, peace and blessings. Thank you for having me again.
I see. Well, it's an honor and a pleasure. Yeah. So the tribe's in here tribing and we're ready to get it. So I just want to say this is something that this title and this topic is a very I feel like it's very necessary and it's a very real thing. And I always like to give flowers and kudos and credit, but this isn't my baby right here. This isn't my brainchild, this particular topic, because this was something that you and I spoke about, and I'm like, yo, this is something that needs to be a show, because a lot of people dealing with this particular topic. And I know you have your reasons and I have mine, and I'm sure the people out there, in the audience, the tribe, has their reasons. But one of the things I just want to dive right into is, what would you define a religious extremist as? Like, how would you define something or someone who is a religious extremist?
Well, when we hear that term, most of us think of like a dramatic headline level events, but extremism, mm-hmm. It also shows up in quiet everyday ways. It can show up in our neighborhoods, our workplace, our families, and even in casual conversations. Religious extremists isn't always loud, but sometimes it's the person who insists that their path is the only right one, and sometimes it's someone who looks at your spiritual practice with judgment or fear. And sometimes it's subtle, a side eye, a comment, a warning masked as concern. But underneath all of that, there is one core truth. Religious extremists is fear wearing the costume of right. It's the fear of someone walking a path that they don't understand, nor do they want to have a conversation about if they're curious about it. It's the fear of losing control over a narrative they were taught to protect. And when fear goes unhealed, it becomes projection. It becomes your beliefs are wrong. It becomes you're dangerous, or you're misguided, or you need saving. It becomes policing other people's spirituality instead of nurturing their own. It also becomes policing other people's spiritual, like for those of us who walk African spirituality or indigenous practices or any non-mainstream path, we've seen this up close. I mean, I've had my personal experience, and you and I, Arisha Bemi, we've talked about my neighbor, who is a terrorist to me because he does not understand what I do, you could be minding your business, living your truth, honoring your ancestors, and someone will still feel threatened by your existence. And, here's the thing, their discomfort has nothing to do with your practices and everything to do with their unhealed relationship with their own personal beliefs. And extremists, it grows where curiosity dies. It grows where people are taught to fear what they don't understand, and it grows where people confuse control with faith. So when we talk about religious I don't know why I can't say that word today, extremism, extremists, we're really talking about the tension between fear and freedom, control and curiosity, inherited dogma, and authentic spiritual experience. Yeah.
No, I love that answer. And in that answer, you said something I've never heard before, but dang it, I'm gonna let you know right now, I'm definitely gonna be using that. I'll never take credit for it. So, I got this from Millie. But yeah, because you said policing other people's spirituality. Like that, boy,
I got my own personal police.
that right there, I like that. Look, I might have to change the title. It might be how to deal with religious extremists who police other people's spirituality, because that's what they've been doing.
Yeah.
I got my own thoughts on this, and I'm very emphatic on it too. But my thing is this: the people that are really, really extreme, that are extremists, that I feel like that go hard and they do the most, those people have what I feel like is a superiority complex, where they feel like if you don't pray to my God and you don't go to my church or you don't deal with my Lord and my, how I deal with it, you're the devil and you're going to hell, and that's all it is. There ain't nothing else to say. I really feel like there's a lot of people out there like that. A lot of people.
There are a lot of people, and now we have it in government. They're trying to separate church and state. They're trying to take it back to the 1930s, which is going to be impossible because, for lack of a better word, we're spoiled. So there's no going back, They're trying to make it, the rich white man, of course, it's surrounded by money, but also, they're trying to make it white, right? They're trying to, reduce equality from women, and also, us people of color, so yeah.
Well, and the thing about it though is like the fact that, and mind you, it's not just, let me just be clear, I don't feel like it's just Christians who have that extremist mindset either. There's people in all religions that I feel like have that elitism or that extremist, mentality or mindset. So for me, I feel like people who have that mentality or mindset, no matter what it is, whether it's religion, whether it's about careers, whatever the case may be, it's a superiority complex. It's like you feel like who you are and who you pray to and where you go for your house of worship is head and shoulders above everybody else's, and that's not the case. And my argument to that, or my debate with that, is like, I don't care if you're Christian, Hebrew, Muslim, Kemetic, Ephi, it don't matter who, what it is. If you move in accordance, in alignment of whatever the doctrine of whatever God you pray to, and you actually live your life in divine order, or in Iwa Pele is what we will say, in the Ifa tradition, the balance of Ma'at, in the Kemetic, whatever you want to say, if you're living that life and you're being a child of God for that practice, then it shouldn't matter to you what other people pray to or what other people do. Because if you respected your religion and your culture and your God, then that means you should see the God in all of humanity and all of other people, regardless of who they pray to, you know what I'm saying, or where they go for worship, whether they worship or pray or not. You still don't have, I feel like, the authority to be, you know what I'm saying, superior to anybody else, no matter who their God is, period.
Right,
That's where the problem comes in. That's where the extremist aspect comes in, is because you're more concerned about everybody not conforming to what you conform to than you are living the doctrine of the word or whatever the hell it is that you conform to. You know what I'm saying? Because for me, I don't care who you pray to. I don't care if you don't pray. If you show me love and respect, guess what? We cool. Ain't no problems, ain't no issue, ain't no none of that. But if you cross the line, then that's a problem. And if you talk about my practice, that's a problem, because I'm not talking about yours.
Exactly. And you know, with that type of mentality, it's showing yourself as weak, you know, like you don't have divine connection, that you are not the divine spark of all that is. You know, you're separated from God, goddess. You know, you're not one with, you know, you're not one with all that is, which we all are. We all are powerful. And that's what's, you know, crazy about the religious extremists, because, you know, they themselves, I feel like they are a child that stopped growing at a specific age from unhealed wounds. And that's where I believe shadow work comes in, you know. Shadow work helps us to understand parts of ourselves we've hidden, denied, or never explore. So when you suppress something like that, it gets projected, you know, and in this case, it's in form of control.
Yes.
You know, and it's interesting. I was watching an interview with a billionaire. It was on YouTube. And he basically thought anybody who made less than $1 million is a loser. But there was somewhere within himself that sees himself as a loser. You know, there was a child that was once called a loser or treated like one. And at that time, that child stopped growing. The body, you know, the body kept growing into adulthood, but the child's mind stopped. The moment that that person was probably treated like a loser.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, and I love that you said that too, about like the stunning of growth, because that's a real thing. And you know, when you have a stunted growth, you're not able to see everything. You know, it's kind of like, and I'm not going, I don't make light of people and their differences, but it's kind of like people, you know, people they consider them like little people, right? People who are adults, but they only grow to a certain height.
Right.
Based off of their height growth, they're grown. Like their maturity, their level of awareness, and you know what I'm saying, all these different aspects never stopped. It just was their physical, you know what I'm saying, the physical body stopped growing. However, you take somebody who can be 7 feet tall and they can't see nowhere near as high as the person who might be 3.5, 4 feet tall, because their growth up here and in here stunted. But yet you have this little person who could be a damn shaman, or you know what I'm saying, like whoever, because they never stunted their growth. So it's like, really, it's a tale of two stories, and it's like, it's crazy how that happens. But the thing about it too is some of the people that are carrying the same energy are in leadership positions, or in, you know what I'm saying, heading, you know, a congregation, or heading a temple, or heading a mosque. So now my question to you, and I love that Spirit gave me this one to ask you. Oh my God, I love it, because I know, I don't know if there's anybody else who can answer this question better than you that I personally know. My question to you, right? Both my grandmothers, one was one faith, one was the other faith. None was the faith that I am, right? But without their consent, without their blessings, without them co-signing, I don't get to where I am now in my spiritual journey without them, you know, co-signing and giving consent to that. So with you being a seer, being someone who can communicate with both realms, who can receive messages from the other side, and who knows how to, you know, transmute them and to give them to us here on this side. When our ancestors transition and they're in the realm of heaven or Orun or whatever you want to call it, do they care about what damn religion that we practice here?
Absolutely not, because they are in union with consciousness. You know, when a person transitions from this dimension into another dimension, they go through an ego death. You know, that part of the ego falls off. So there is no suffering. There is no judgment. They see the bigger picture that we are all unity, like we're all one. You know, we're part of a divine collective, you know, so they don't have that. I don't want to get like technical about stuff. There are people that are stuck in, it's almost like another dimension over, if you will, but it's not truly crossed over. They're kind of stuck in between worlds, but that's because there's so much anger, so much ego involved that they're kind of stuck here. And I've dealt with those kind of, you know, energies,
Right.
you know, but, you know, once they transition, once they go to the light per se, right?
Mm-hmm.
That light strips their ego away. So that does not exist. As a matter of fact, we're light. So, you know, as I see you and you see me, we see the aesthetics, but we feel our energy. But once the shell drops, we still have the same essence. So even though we're all divine light, we have the essence. Even though we don't speak a specific language, we speak energy and we understand each other with that essence.
I sure. Yeah, that's very deep. Shout out to Divine Grace, Purgatory. That's the spot. I think that's what that's called, like that limbo stage.
Purgatory or preparatory?
Yeah, something like that. One of the two, right? Is that what I believe that's what that is? Like when you're kind of stuck in limbo. Yeah, in between.
Yeah, like a limbo. Yeah.
Yep.
It's not no purgatory. I mean, it probably feels that way.
Right.
But yeah, it's but preparatory.
Yeah. Yep. No, that's powerful. And shout out to Emperor of Truth. He said Dr. Ray Hagins and Bobby Hemmett have both spoken about this in great detail about these types of people. I've experienced it myself here in Jacksonville, and I'm a retired veteran on my street, all because I shine my eye. Yeah, and that's what it is too. And the thing about it, a lot of times, I ain't gonna say a lot, pretty much damn near every time, when a person is jealous of you or a person has beef with you or has some sort of, you know what I'm saying, bone in the pit with you for no apparent reason whatsoever, that problem that they have is not about you.
Absolutely
that problem
not.
is about something that they have going on within them that they are projecting at you because
It's
they
a
can't take that
trapped
you have
emotion.
that light or you have that ashe or
Yeah.
you have that energy or you have that gift or you have that skill, whatever it is, they can't take it. They're like,
it's a trapped energy, and it's ego and it's envy. And I've dealt with that. I still continue to deal with that, but I always tell people, I mean, there's no reason to have that kind of envy, because if you envy someone, that means that there's something within yourself that has the ability to have whatever that thing is that that individual has. You're not separated. We're all not separated. We all have it. We all have it. So there's no reason to have envy. That envy is being projected from a wound that has not gone healed.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm huge on shadow work. I'm big on shadow work. Huge. Big.
Listen. I'm frustrated right now because shout out to the tribe and shout out to you again for Saturday's call, which was dope. But I was doing my best to get the book out for the people to be able to order or download their copies today. But I'll have it. I was gonna say tomorrow, but I don't want to have this retrograde mess with me because I was fighting with the technology all day yesterday to get it ready for y'all tribe. But I look forward to getting that available and getting the little landing page or the website set up for it because it got great feedback. But speaking of shadow work, before I go further into that, can you kind of share what the significance is for shadow work, especially for those of us who are on our spiritual journey, for those of us who are, you know, striving to the path of enlightenment, striving to the path of elevation, striving for the path of expansion, you know, spiritually or health, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially, etc. Like, can you kind of share how significant the practice or the exercise or whatever you want to call it, as far as regarding doing shadow work, why that's important?
Well, you know, in terms of shadow work, the shadow is a place where fear actually lives. You know, it's where insecurity lives, trauma lives, where old stories still try to run the show. So when we don't face our shadow, we start projecting those wounds onto other people. You know, and that's, you know, exactly actually how religious extreme, I can't say the word, but you know what I mean, it forms. You know, spiritually wounded people projecting their fear outward and calling it truth. But when we do the shadow work, when we look within, when we face our own darkness with compassion and honesty, you know, we stop reacting, we stop projecting, we stop judging other people's paths, right? In general, we become more sovereign. We become more grounded and emotionally secure. Shadow work doesn't make you perfect by all means, but it just makes you more aware. It makes you more accountable, and it just makes you feel free. And you're not triggered. If you're triggered by something, then there's definitely a suppressed emotion and unhealed wound.
Yeah. That's a real thing. And it's so amazing how life happens and life works too. Because when it comes to tests, right, especially for those of us who are in the Ishe tradition or what have you, we have this deity named Eshu, right? Eshu, he goes by a lot of different names, but
Yes.
there's a lot of things that come along with Eshu. Eshu can either be like literally your knight in shining armor and like get you into and through anything and everything, or it could be like the doggone bear in front of the, in front of the doggone stream that you got to cross, and he's like, yeah, go ahead and try to cross this stream. Like,
right,
I'm like,
right.
Yeah, you ain't going. Yeah. So it's like, it's all dependent or determined upon what I feel like is your reciprocity in your relationship with Eshu, right? So if you keep a constant communication and you constantly pouring into that relationship, he gonna continue to be that knight in shining armor. But if you mess around and that one day or whatever the case may be, and not, he might turn into the bear. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But that's a possibility that anybody who knows, and it's a real thing. So it's like, I feel like life is like that, though. You don't have to be in this tradition. And I just literally had a moment like that, not even an hour before we came on the stream. Like, I went to the store to grab something. And, when I was at the store, I paid for my stuff. I got up out of there. And this lady who was behind me in line, she picked up a debit card. She was like, excuse me, sir, did you leave this? Is this your debit card you left here? I'm like, nah, that's not mine. But you know what I'm saying? It's funny because I was on the phone with my pops. I was like, now, pops, if I wasn't trying to live my life in EY Pele, you know what I'm saying? I could have like, you know what I'm saying? But I'm like, but man, I don't want that karma. Like, I don't need none of that because, and then me and him got to talking. I'm like, I really wholeheartedly feel like these types of situations when we're in those moments, I promise, I feel like that's a test.
But you also now have healed any wounds with regards to lack. Okay, you don't feel lack. So therefore, you're not projecting lack by saying, oh, yeah, that's my debit card. Thank you. You don't come from a place of lack anymore, which is still ego.
Wow.
You've done the shadow work.
That's powerful. I mean, man, that's nowhere near where we went with it, but that's why you're here. That's why you're here. So, but that's dope though, because in my mind, I was just telling him like, Pop, I wholeheartedly feel like that was a test, because if I would have took that and did who knows what, I feel like this is how I literally said it to him. I'm like, that's a test. I know that's a test. I wholeheartedly feel like that's a direct test from God, because I've divined for people and gave messages where a deity will say, be careful how you deal with this certain population of people, because I might just show up myself as one of those people and you never know. You know what I'm saying? I've literally given that message to a few different people. And I'm like, oh, so now that not only does the little shadow work and all that stuff, but I got these thoughts in my mind too, like that could have been Eshu.
But that's why it's so important to have your own ego death. That's why shadow work is so important, so you can hear. When you don't do the work, it's almost like you have headphones on. You don't hear your intuition. You don't hear your inner GPS system that's giving you, like, we talked about the clairs in the class that I teach, right? All the clairs. Your clairs, meaning when I say clairs, they're your clairvoyance, which is your ability to see, your clairsentience, your ability to feel, sense energy, clairaudience, your ability to hear, and there's other clairs that deals with scent, with taste. But anyway, normally if you don't do the inner work, your clairs are not heightened. You're not more sensitive to the clairs. But when you have done the inner work, you're more in tune. So, when, experiences like that show up, you sense and feel very quickly what to do. Many times I'm driving and I see homeless people, with the sign saying I'm hungry, this, that, and the other. Because I've done the inner work, I can hear clearly what spirit wants me to do. For some, I just don't, it doesn't resonate. But for some, I say, hey, spirit says, hey, give them, what you got, and I'll give it to them. you know. So you want to make sure that you go through your ego death, meaning your shadow work. You want to do the work because I'm telling you, it's more heightened. It will prevent accidents, right? It will prevent vicious cycles. It will prevent blockages, you know. And when you do encounter someone who is a religious extremist, you'll know how to intuit how to respond, and you will respond more grounded because you've done the work. You won't be triggered. Like, say if there was some kind of abuse in the past or bullying, you've worked and done you've done the inner work to heal that whatever bullying or abuse that you went through. So that way, when if there's anyone who's trying to bully you, whether it's a religious extremist or somebody, you're responding from a grounded, healed place.
That's deep. And I wholeheartedly agree with everything you said, because it's funny, when I told him, I was like, yo, I feel like this is a direct test from God, and I feel like if you don't pass that test, because I feel like we're all being tested on a daily basis. And in my mind, my own little corner of the universal galaxy, but in my mind, I feel like that was a direct test from the Creator. And I felt like, had I not done the right thing and not passed that test, that was the Creator's ability to give me my forecast for the next 3 weeks to 3 months to 3 years of how things were going to unfold for me. Because if you make that wrong turn, you might catch catastrophe and who knows what other kind of, BS you're going to be dealing with, because you knew better to not take that turn and do that and take that call, but you chose to do it anyway. And I feel like that's where, and I know I had this conversation with you and multiple other guests and people, but that's where I feel like I said I've learned, like I've had enough spiritual ass whippings. I ain't trying to take no more, because I done had it literally only took one big one. And boy, and that one, it wasn't even, I don't feel like it was nothing I did malicious. I just didn't do what I was supposed to do in a timely manner enough to avoid and protect myself from the BS. And it was in the very beginning of my doggone journey. I said, boy, from now on, when I get that message from them consultations, well, I'm doing whatever they were told to do, because I ain't never trying to go into one of them again, man. It was crazy.
But aren't those experiences beautifully sacred? Because it's it leads us to our growth, to spiritual growth. Mm-hmm. So it's sacred. As hard and as fucked up as it could be, it's sacred. It really is, because we learn from the contrast. We learn about ourselves and what not to do. Just like when we're children, right? Yeah. We learn that if we do something, we get hurt. We don't do it again, So it's so sacred. It's sacred growth. I call it sacred growth.
Yeah, it's real. Look, I could say that it was sacred now, but it wasn't sacred in the moment. It wasn't sacred in my pockets either, boy. I'm telling you, boy. Like, nah, boy, I won't never not do that again.
I know, boy. That's right. I got my stories. Trust me, I could be a little, you know what I'm saying? And I've learned.
Yeah, but and you're right though. Like, all jokes aside, I guess it is, in a sense, essence, it is sacred, because I know now what not to not do. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. I know when I get directions and I get, the game plan to be victorious, I'm going to do that damn game plan, because I'm not trying to do that again.
I always tell my clients, because, the bulk of my clients come from trauma. And, I'm not a licensed therapist or anything, but one thing Spirit has always told me to tell my clients is, it doesn't matter what experience it is always sacred, because it teaches us to grow, and it teaches us to learn. It teaches us boundaries. It teaches us strength, inner strength. So we need the contrast, so.
Yeah, it's funny, because I've had that conversation too, and I ain't gonna lie, I even questioned. I used to ask, like when I was younger, I used to ask God why. I ain't gonna lie, I was curious as to why, like, because my mindset when I was younger, mind you, I was a child. I don't remember what age, but I just remember thinking, like, when I really grew into awareness to see like how the world was moving and operating and what was all going on, like the good, the bad, the ugly. When I saw the bad and the ugly, I used to sometimes ask God, like, God, I know you're the creator of all. Like, I know you got the power and authority to do anything and everything. Well, why does this happen to people? Like, why are people being murdered? Why are children being kidnapped? Why are people going homeless? Why are people being raped? Like, why are these things happening? You know what I'm saying? Right. It's like, but that's a child's mind, and even now, I ain't gonna lie, 45, I still don't know like why, but I chose, or I've grown into not questioning the creator no more, because throughout my life and my journey and my research and studying is like, the universe is vast, and there's this thing that we call the poles of polarity, and I feel like one of the most powerful lessons I learned when it came to this type of aspects of our existence is the book The Kybalion, the Seven Hermetic Principles by it's called by Thoth, I think, but Tahuti, Thoth, but anyway, I think it's Hermes, Trismegistus, all those different names that this particular deity goes under. But it really broke down the as above, so below, as within, so without, you know what I'm saying? The light, the dark, like it just broke down the masculine, the feminine. It broke down all of, and I mean all of, like the parallels of the pros and cons and both sides of polarity, from a universal perspective. So when I read that book, it changed everything for me, because at that point I realized that God is the all, the universal prime creator is the all. So the all, it can't beat the all. Darkness ain't never going to beat the light, because the light ain't, the light is never going to fully, I guess, eradicate and get rid of the dark, because all those aspects are all still aspects of the all, of the universal prime creator who created it all. Yes. So now I gotta look at it. Okay, so that's where the balance comes in, or the imbalance. That's where the progressions, or the lessons, or the cycles, or coming back to this world to learn as a school, or being able to ascend to the next realm and the next, level, to not have to. That's where all that comes into play. And so it's deep, man. It's really, really deep. And I feel like I'm thankful for us having this conversation, because so many of us deal with it. So to go back into the main theme or topic, because I know time is short. Do you deal with clients who deal with this to a point where it bothers them to something that you have to work on them for, or with, in regards of being or getting through this challenge?
Of which challenge?
The religious extremists.
Oh yeah, I've had people have dealt with family members. I actually had one guy who came in, I believe it was a few months ago, and he saw me for a few sessions, and his family were Christian nationalists, but they were very racist. And he's always felt, when he came in, he was just like way out of place. But I try not to judge. I'm talking like he looked like a skinhead. Let's just put it that way. But when he came in, and but I felt such pain, and his family were Christian nationalists. They were very racist, and he basically divorced them. He stayed away from them because it didn't resonate with him, and so he was trying to heal some of the inner childhood wounds of disconnect, feeling disconnected from other people. When people feel disconnected from other souls, you're disconnecting yourself.
Yeah.
In essence. So he wanted to feel reconnected. And I think that's why he chose me as a Black-owned business, right? Just to feel that reconnection to everyone and to really learn about himself, which is extremely promising, And, and so I went on to help transmute some of that ancestral wounds, because that is definitely ancestral, big time. And so, recalibrating all of that, and, helping him remove some of those trapped emotions, and to forgive himself, that was a huge sacred, moment for him. And so, but right now he's a lot more grounded, but yeah, his whole entire family were Christian nationalists and racist. They believed in the white America.
Sure. That's powerful, because, shout out to IMSEG and Mariana. We had a dope show last week, and we covered a lot of ground and talked about a lot of things. But Mariana does community work. She does a lot of different events, things of that nature. But what you just shared with me just now, that kind of pulled back or triggered a memory of mine that happened this year, actually. And it's because, like, I was doing work for the youth, for young brothers who got caught up in the law, gun charges, murder charges, like all kind of crazy stuff. And so, in the process, unfortunately, I see like the vast majority was us, in the program, like 80-90% maybe. But there was a few times where a couple of, Spanish children, Asian, Mexican, white. And so it was like different because everything that you just said from your perspective with that client's case study, I dealt with the opposite on my end because everybody, for the most part, looked like me. So then when I did have, a couple of white boys, I was kind of curious to see how the rest of the crowd would respond when I interacted with him the same way I did the rest of the brothers. You know what I'm saying? But it was so dope to me because I wholeheartedly feel like nobody looked at it like, oh, we got a white boy in here with us. You know what I'm saying? Or da da da. Like, because at the end of the day, everybody was in there for pretty much around the same types of reasons. And so my job I can't call myself a therapist either, but I'll say my job as a therapist was to be able to kind of give verbal libations, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, like to pour in versus judging. And the reason being because I came from a similar path. So it's like, that's how I feel like I have to do this type of work because the creator saved me from being in their position when I was their age. He saved me from going to prison. He saved me from going to to the cemetery. So it's like, I'm absolutely out of my goddamn mind if I don't try to go back and help some of these young brothers, to hopefully not go down that same route or end up in that same road, because I've been to more funerals for my homeboys and too many to count that I don't even want to think about. Like, for real, I just seen, shout out to my boy Dad. He about to know one of the best ball players I ever played with. Played for the University of Kentucky. Should have been in the league, and he got murdered. And it's crazy because there's so many of them. I could make a documentary about it. I should actually, because I've lost so many brothers to the streets, to the bullshit, and it's like I can't stand the fact that hip hop culture has been raped and pillaged and utilized as a weapon of mass destruction.
That's crazy.
Use our gifts, our art, and our skills to literally create a weapon of massacre, of Holocaust, almost in a sense.
And that's where extremists are too, in the music industry.
They're everywhere. And I was just about to say, shout out to Dr. Phil Valentine. He'll be here, I believe, Thursday, man. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a brand new guest powerhouse coming through. And I can't wait to have this conversation with him because he was on another sister show, I think yesterday. And he was saying that's why when they infiltrated hip hop, that's why the name changed from hip hop to rap. He said because those parasites took it over, they made it rape culture. They dropped the E and just called it rap, but for them, they knew it was rape culture. And that's exactly what it's doing. It's raping and pillaging the globe, for that matter. You know what I mean? Because of those parasites who run that industry. So with that being said, fuck them parasites. But
no, exactly. Like my cousin is a very well-known bachata artist, very famous outside of the United States, but he chose it that way because in this music industry within the United States are shady. And I've heard stories, and he said, you know what? I'd rather out there than here.
I know that's right. Yeah. Yeah, it's a real thing. A very real thing. And I think the fact that that particular demographic of the religious, I feel like sect, because this goes all the way back to the Vatican. You know what I mean? Like, we're gonna be technical about it. So this goes back, way back to that, and that, that whole little four-pronged double horn system, of all the players and parties that's involved with it. But that's where it really starts from. So we all know what that's about, because I mean, they're showing you the blueprint. They're doing the rape to their own. You know what I'm saying? So if they're gonna rape their own, what the hell do you think they're gonna do to anybody else? You know what I'm saying? But that's the sickness of where we're at right now. But that also motivates me and inspires me to know that people like you are doing the work. I know I'm definitely doing the work. A lot of the tribes out there doing the work. There's a lot of tribe members who work in, schools, or who work in, correctional facilities, or who work in their communities, centers and things of that nature, who are helping the youth. So it's like, we're definitely on the right track. We just got a lot of work to do, and we got a lot of uniting and getting together, collectively to do the work. And the one thing that I know is that we can't do it with the extremists. And it don't matter what religion you're part of, because you're going to be a hiccup, or, a hurdle, or some sort of blockage for the movement and the progress if you can't get along with somebody else just because they don't pray to the same God as you.
Right. And, or they don't have the same money as you, or, you're, if it's a church, you don't have, because I came from a mega church as well. you know, and I've seen it in there as well, you know, the extremism, the terrorism, I should say, more so than anything, the terrorism, you know, but the positive aspect about, you know, all of this is that people are starting to recognize the religious terrorism or extremism, and they're starting to choose not me, not anymore. You know, I'm not going to deal with this anymore. And I see them a lot because you did, to bring it back a little bit, asking about, you know, some of the clients that come in. I have clients that are Jehovah's Witness that comes in. Okay. And it's like, I feel like, you know, if they could wear a hood, they would, and sunglasses, they would come in. Right. I've had Pentecostal come in. I have people of Muslim and Jewish faith come in. Actually, almost all faiths come in to receive Reiki healing, you know? And it's because they're breaking, it's like they're slowly distancing themselves from, you know, that matrix. And so, you know, eventually, and I've seen it fully, them stepping out of the matrix and into their truth and into sovereignty and groundedness. You know, and freedom, because that's basically, you are free.
Oh yeah, that's a real thing. And shout out to Pops too, man, because he was here last week, and we had another conversation. I wish I could record our conversations or have him on the pod. I don't think he would come on here, but he's a piece of work. He's a funny character, man. But we have some really, really deep conversations, and a lot of times, you know, we agree, you know, all that, but sometimes we don't, because we have totally different perspectives and views. But I just, you know, I love him and respect him enough that I'm not going to go toe to toe with him. Things we don't agree, I'm just going to walk away from it like, okay, we're just going to agree to disagree. But, you know, I still don't.
Okay.
I'm all mad at, yeah, but the one thing I love is we both respect and appreciate each other's tradition and faith. You know what I'm saying? He respects mine, I respect his. And I'm gonna say this because I'm proud of this. Like, when he's here, he's a Christian. If he want to go to church, I'm going to church with him. You know what I'm saying? Because that's my pops, and that's what he want to do. And then I'm gonna do it. And not one time have I went and the message wasn't spot the hell on. I'm talking about spot on. And that's where I feel like it really does come down to who you are, and are you really staying true and living up to whatever it is your God, you know what I'm saying, led the example of the way to do. Because for me personally, I don't care that he's a Christian. That ain't none of my damn business. As long as he loves me and respects me as a son, that's all I care about, and that's all that matters. And he don't care that I'm in Ifa or whatever I'm into. He don't care about that, because it's about, we both have the same mutual love and respect for one another, that we're not going to let that be, you know, involved with what we have going on. And I said something to him when he was here, and I was proud to say it, and it actually took him for a loop. But that's the power of God. And so I was saying to him, like, like you were saying, I deal with a lot of clients from a lot of demographics, a lot of different demographics, different spiritual systems, different practices, different faiths, different, you know what I'm saying, financial classes, whatever you want to say. Same sex, you know, people that, you know what I'm saying, that might have, you know what I'm saying, a wife that's a female, like, or whatever the case may be. I deal with a lot of that too. And my thing is, and when I was telling him about how I work with different people from different types of populations and different types of, you know, backgrounds, whether it's religious or their sexual orientation or whatever the case may be, it took them for a loop. Because me, 15 years ago, I didn't really want to have nothing to do with somebody who was in the, you know, the alphabet community. Like, I didn't, you know what I'm saying, I didn't have nothing to do with that, because I didn't agree with it, right? And I'm gonna say this now, I don't necessarily agree with it now, but guess what? That's none of my business, because
it's not.
As a healer, as somebody who took an oath to serve and to heal and to protect, I can't turn down somebody because of whatever my, you know what I'm saying, self-limited belief or whatever my little, you know what I'm saying, isolated, want to, you know, control or be a superiority complex type of, you know, extremist. I can't do the work that I'm supposed to do the way I'm supposed to do it if I have that energy within me. And so I was telling him, like, and I was telling him, like, that's why I give thanks for Obatala, and, you know what I'm saying, like, what's been bestowed within me, because the growth of where I am now, I ain't perfect, and I'm gonna say that again, I'm not perfect, nor will I ever be. So I'm gonna make sure I feel that. But I know I'm grateful that I'm a long ways away from what I used to be. And so when I was able to say that to him, he was like, yeah, I can't believe that coming from you. That's what's up. Like, because he was surprised. But I'm like, but I told him, like, Pop, I couldn't do the work that I do now if I wasn't able to outgrow that, you know, that mentality. You know, but, you know, and so that's why I love what you're doing, and the fact that you're doing it for people from all different types of, you know, walks of life and faith. And I feel like, what do we have to do, us who have the same frequency or the same mindset or mentality, to bring together as many people as we can to get on the same frequency, to move in that same unison and accord. Because let me just say, it ain't just Christians, it's people in all damn religions that have that mentality. It's in Isheshe, it's in anything you name, it's in there. Islam, you name it. And I work with people all different faiths, just like you do. So it's like, what can we do collectively to try to do something to at least send out a Morse code or a bat signal to those who think like us and move like us, and to not be involved with people who have that extremist mentality and how they try to degrade or talk down and belittle us?
Well, first and foremost, be the example. Embrace, because my core friends, I have a core friendship, like, a group of us girls, and it's like 5 of us. One is Catholic, the other one is Christian, then there's me, the hippie healer, then I do have one that's an atheist. It's funny, we could probably come up with a show, but but we love each other and we respect our each other's journeys, and it's being the example that I respect your journey, and it's showing the example that spirituality never bullies, right? It's showing that spirituality does not shame other people's paths, right? It's showing that we do not need to dominate, convert, or control, because that's insecurity and we're secure. And that's fear, and we don't operate from fear, right? We're operating from grounded perspective where we have done the inner work, And there is a difference between control and confidence.
Oh, yeah.
Control comes from a place of fear. Confidence comes from knowing that you are connected to all that is, that there's no need, there's no need to, and I just lost my train of thought, but you can operate from confidence. And and the thing about it is that we are neighbors, we are brothers, we are sisters. And again, it's being that example. And it's just learning spirituality, pick up a book, watch more of, your podcasts, and many other spiritualist podcasts, and really feel and sense with your heart being your bullshit detector, your inner GPS system. Does this resonate with me? Because many people are stuck in this box, in this matrix, and they have numbed themselves into their intuitive response, right, to other people's beliefs, but not beliefs, to learning, to opening up, right? And so it's really opening up curiosity, being curious, ask questions, and really get to know it. Spirituality in general doesn't matter, where it is, and to what direction you go, so but it's just being that example. And if you're you're triggered by it's funny, you can have a conversation, and then once you feel a trigger or a trigger coming from someone, there's nothing wrong with educating someone,
right?
That that they may need some kind of inner work, without saying, hey, you need inner work, but like bringing in a as a conversation. So
the quote, the great philosopher Sir Kendrick Lamar, sometimes you got to pop out and show ninjas. Sometimes you do got to tell folks they need some damn inner work, because that's just what
but in a way where it won't be like, what you mean I'm supposed to do inner work? You telling me there's something wrong with me?
I ain't saying nothing wrong, but it's some things
you have to deliver it in a clever way. And maybe it's my Scorpio, like like I could just put it in a conversation without
right.
But,
Look, you more you're a lot more sophisticated with how you do it. I'm just gonna come out and say it, because look, I'm gonna do my best to say it in a nice, polite.
You get some work done.
Yeah, because you got to, and I want to be clear about this too. So, because I've seen a lot of, well, I didn't say a lot, but I've seen some commentary going back and forth in the comments in regards to the Christianity thing and all that. I feel like this is my opinion too, and I'm not going to change that, because one thing I'm confident in is just being confident in speaking my truth, even if it ruffles feathers or it bothers people, or people, don't like me to talk about me, whatever. But that's gonna happen regardless of whether I'm talking the truth or speaking my truth or not. People gonna not, like Pac said, they're gonna not like you for whatever you do. So it don't matter. So matter what do you and be real. So for me, I wholeheartedly feel like Christianity is a weapon of mass destruction as well, because I feel like that was the weapon of mass destruction that literally put the handcuffs and imprisoned the minds and souls of a vast majority of the globe. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna be brutally honest and clear about that from my perspective. You know what I'm saying?
And it narrows down to control.
Yeah, that's exactly what it boils down to.
It's all control. It's all ego. And that's why, more and more of us are, a lot of healers, is all hands on deck now. All the healers are coming out and they're, willing to learn. Like what, for whatever reason, I feel called to this and I'm willing to learn. And they themselves are going to help humanity. So many healers are coming out, and that's that's a celebration. And now it's not the time, and I will tell the collective this, now is not the time to, now is the time to just have confidence and step out and start doing the work. Whether you're a verbal healer, a hands-on healer, or, whatever direction that leads you to help individuals, step out and do it. Because let me tell you, that type of energy, that type of love is vibrationally contagious. It'll wake so many other people up only because you're helping them heal. Your presence is helping them heal. Okay. And first and foremost, I just wanted to say this too, that you do not have to shrink, explain, or apologize for your path ever. Okay. Because your spirituality is yours. Your peace is yours, and your power is non-negotiable. Okay. So stay grounded, stay aligned, and stay unbothered. And with a big middle finger. That's the New Yorker.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's that New York. New York is in the house. Hey, that's that New York boy. That New York came out. Hey, New York in the house, boy. Yes, sir. Shout out to Jay McDonald. I agree, and that's real. And I do strive to be tactful. That's one thing. So I'm gonna keep it a buck. Like I'm gonna be blunt. I'm gonna be raw and real. I'm gonna speak the truth. But if it's a sensitive topic or situation, I'm not going to address it right in the moment. I'm going to be very cerebral. I'm going to decompress. I'm going to think it out. I'm going to strategize. Okay, how can I deliver this in a respectful manner? So, it don't, get really, really, get froggy. I don't look for any
it doesn't have to be cookie cutter. You just go by the energy.
Right.
So I go by the energy. There are individuals that have to be spoken to in a blunt way. And you could feel energetically that they would prefer to accept that response energetically. And then there's some that are very vulnerable, and you're just going to have to deliver it in a vulnerable way. So
And any coach, any school teacher, I feel like anybody who's ever been in any leadership position in the workplace, or owned your own company, or been a manager, or whatever the case may be, you should know that, because they call it the sandwich method, where you hit with some constructive criticism, you give a little bit of positive feedback, and you go back to the constructive criticism, or whichever method you want to use, that sandwich method. But you can't beat people up that can't take being beat up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But some people, you can't just give them love tap language, because they're not gonna hear you. You got to, you heard me what I did. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like
that's
you got to
true.
know how to read the room. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I feel like the best coaches in the world, whether I don't care, you're white, black, soccer, football, basketball, baseball, whatever it is, the best ones, the creme de la creme, they knew what buttons to push with whichever player, student, staff member, whatever the case may be. And
they knew how to move.
There you go.
Yeah.
And that's and shout out to Divine Grace. That I feel like authenticity, period, that wins all day, because when you real, for me personally, I can't speak for nobody else, but when you real, I rocks with that all day, every day. Even if it's something I don't like or agree with, I can't stand. But if you real, you have a certain level of respect that I just, I got to give it to, because the fake ones, the phony ones, those others, I don't want nothing to do with them.
Well, that's why shadow work is so important, especially, being a healer and things like that, because people feel it, whether they're aware of it or not, they'll feel your authenticity. So it's so important to do the inner work, because the more inner work you do, the more not authentic, the more confident you are, the more you that you are. I can't think of the word, but the more you become. So more authentic, more of your truth, you know.
And I feel like more connected to the creator.
That
Honestly.
part.
Because
Well,
that's
you
the whole
merge in with the frequency of the creator.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So
that's
yeah.
where my confidence comes from. Just knowing that I'm a child of the creator. Knowing that, like, without a shadow of a doubt. And that thought, that confidence has never been frayed or wavered. I don't care if I was in the shittiest day of my life ever or the best day of my life or whatever. That confidence or that belief never favored. It never wavered, not one time. And that's what gives me the confidence to do, you know, just to be who I am. And I'm at peace with that, you know.
And that's what the religious extremists do. They strip that away from you.
Yes. Yeah. You can't
Because
control
they
somebody
want
that
that
can think for themselves.
Yeah. They don't want that. If anything, they oust you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, they make you feel bad about it. You know, like Scientology, you know, I never been into Scientology, but you know, Leah Remedy, I read her book and I try to understand the minds of these people, and that's all filled with control. They try to strip you like you're entering the just like you're entering the military or, you know, the Marines. They strip you of everything and re-indoctrinate you into their box, their belief system. Scientology does this, and they are like one of the biggest religious sectors out there, and it's insane.
Yeah. And see, I don't know a whole lot about them. I've heard some things and I've seen some things with my own eyes that I know for a fact there's something going on, because what I seen, it ain't what I saw. You ain't doing all that if everything is, you know what I'm saying, just regular schmegular. You ain't.
Oh my God, you need to
know.
look into it. You need to look into it, and just to understand, like I try to understand different religions, but Scientology, man, that will fuck you up big time. I'm like, whoo!
Yeah.
They literally reprogram your mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they
Excuse
can
my
have that.
English.
Well, I mean, but listen, that's what this corporation we call a country is doing too. Especially when you got Moose, when you got Moose out here trying to put damn chips in people's minds and getting them
my
into
God,
so yeah, they trying to do the same thing. So yeah,
they're gonna try to force it too, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, good luck with that.
Not my mind.
Yeah, everybody ain't going out like that. So hey,
nope.
But real quick, I know we're running up on the time. I wanted to bring one more question. I started this one, maybe two if you got time, but definitely this one. I started this one because it came way earlier, but I liked it, and I was like, you know what, that's a great question. So I want to make sure
I like that question too. Yeah.
Want to get in close to that one. So yeah, I want to give it to you. Is ego death? Is ego the death that we die when we transition or we transform, when we leave this physical meat suit and then we go back into the realm of spirit, or like is there more to it? Like how would you answer that question?
Well, you know, ego death is a continuous process, definitely. It's not like, remember, you know, we're born and raised into the into our families that taught us, you know, their particular mindset. So, and then we go to school and things like that. So, you know, as we merge into our truth, we learn about spirituality. And when I say spirituality, it's more of a sense of your truth, who you are raw, okay? Who you are, and walking to the beat of your own drum. So once you start to confidently walk your truth, you go through ego deaths, but it's not all in once. I don't think we can handle all that at once, because ego is part of our school of life. It's part of our classroom. And once we graduate from whatever that ego mindset was, or that attachment, what I like to call the lower vibrational attachment was, once we graduate from that, then we proceed on to go through different experiences to experience now that ego death. Hopefully I answered that question. But then also when we transition, it's a complete ego death, complete. You know, there's always something within us that it's still in a time released manner dying, you know. And one day, like, Spirit did tell me in meditation that it's a slow process because it's part of our learning. You know, the ego is part of learning. So the ego, you know, there's under ego is fear, it's control, it's, you know, it's you know, anything that is the opposite of peace. And it's a slow death.
Yeah. No, that's real. With that, I'm gonna wrap it up, man, because I know we had a timeline. But before we wrap it up, I do want to make sure that I let the tribe know that you have a dope, you know, a class that you just dropped the first. Was that the first semester that you've done with the training program?
The 6 weeks. This week is the final week. Actually, it's called Sacred Insights, a guide to intuitive mastery. And basically, I what I teach you about is how to ground yourself properly. I teach you about all the clairs and how to utilize them, how to do energy readings, different divinations. We even did table tipping, which is where we all gather together and place our hands on the table, and we're able to make the table move with just lightly touching the table, and we made the table tip. So I teach you about how strong energy is. I teach you how to scry, which is like, you know, candle gazing, reading, you know, seeing images in the candle or in the crystals. And then yeah, and how to business wise, the ethics, the integrity of energy readings and things like that. Because, and the reason why I do that, and it's inclusive of shadow work, but the reason why I teach about the integrity of energy reading, because many people will read you while they're going through personal situations, and they should not be reading you because they'll project their own personal situations in that reading. So people will read you when they don't feel well, and they should never read somebody when they're just not feeling well, you know, because it doesn't come clear. So, you know, I basically, it's like a little boot camp, 6 weeks, and I'm starting it over in January. So that class is starting over.
I say. Oh yeah, it's a dope class, man. I'm blessed to be a student up in that thing. So I learned a lot, you know, already. And I knew that. That's why I wanted to take it, because you have well, first of all, how long have you been doing the work you've been doing as far as like the Reiki healing and the, you know, the sound bowls and the 24? How long have you been doing the healing, the work?
16 years. Going on 17. Yeah. And I didn't even formally introduce myself to some of the new folks, but you know, I am a Reiki master and a Karuna Reiki practitioner. I'm also a certified sound therapist for the last 7 years now. I'm also an energy healer of 16 years, and I'm a psychic medium as well. I'm an ordained minister in Soul Evolution, which basically it was 3 years of spiritual boot camp, learning about energy, about life, and a lot of shadow work. So in essence, I had to learn a lot within those 3 years to become an ordained minister, so I could turn around and help the collective from a clear and grounded standpoint. And by trade, I'm an esthetician.
I say. Oh, yeah. I had to put the website up there for the tribe that want to you know, tap in and maybe get on the waiting list for the calls for the next semester, or if they want to, you know, get any type of the services. I'm gonna say check her out, tribe, because listen, she been my healer since like what, 2018 or 2019?
Yeah, a long time. Yeah.
It was either 18 or 19.
Before COVID, for sure.
Yeah, it was either 18 or 19, because that's when I was doing my thing. Like, we met at one of the events, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Before COVID shut
At
that
the
down.
temple.
Yeah, after COVID. But anyway, yeah, but nah, that was 28. Is either 18 or 19 for sure. Because I remember, like, I think I was literally, I don't know if I had already started my first podcast, or I was already like in the, you know, laying the foundation for it. I was like, yo, when you said what you did, I'm like, yo, we got to connect, man, because I'm about to start a podcast, and I would love, you know, to have you on as a guest. And
yeah, you came to my practice and we spoke. Yeah, I remember that. It was food for thought, spiritual.
Stuff food for thought. Yes, sir. Yeah, man. So we've been doing this for a minute, but Millie definitely got more years and time in the business, so that's why she's my healer, and that's why we do the work that we do in a collaborative.
Sure. Thank
but
you.
But that class is dope. So I want to make sure that I highlight that to the tribe, because that's why with you doing that, and then what I'm working on with mine, when we're talking about the shadow work, that's why let me start with that now, and that's really what inspired me to do that presentation last week or Saturday, because knowing that you and I had spoke about it, and that's something that we're going to do together.
It's so important
for my tribe and for your tribe. And I'm looking forward to it, because we'll both be able to give. I know I'll be able to bring a different perspective or a different, like energy to your tribe, and then vice versa, which you already been doing it to ours. So, or with ours, I should say. But it's gonna be dope. I'm looking forward to it, because they got great feedback in regards to how the people were into it. But shadow work is deep, and I feel like there's so many different dynamics and layers that we can go into, that there is no just one set way. It's not no cookie cutter way to do that either. So what I did, it just was led by spirit, let the spirit and the ego go in there to guide me to what they want to use me as a tool for, to come through. So, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with the tribe and to doing it again, in the near future for sure.
Yes, I share. Yes.
That's what's up. Well, you want to lead the tribe with anything on the way out?
Well, yes. So in a world that is full of fear disguised as righteousness, your confidence becomes a whole spiritual flex. So stay grounded and stay in your spirituality and continue to grow.
Ashe. Well, tribe, I definitely appreciate y'all. We're going to get up out of this thing tonight, man, but we'll definitely be back tomorrow. Shout out to the elders of the night, and OJ Yami going to be in here tonight, tomorrow night, to do it again. We got a dope one lined up, and then we'll be back Thursday with Dr. Phil Valentine with his debut on these Ashe streets, man. So we got a big week coming, tribe. So I'll definitely see y'all tomorrow night. And for the Patreon, I'm going to definitely get some information to y'all that I've been trying to get to y'all. Since I've been fighting with these doggone technologies, but hey, it says retrograding. It's definitely been retrograding. So we still gonna push through and make it do what it do, tribe. So with that, I appreciate every single one of y'all. Don't forget to please like, share, subscribe. And if you got anything, which I'm pretty sure you did, and you want to, go further with some of your Reiki healing, sessions or what have you, holla at Millie, because you do distance. Do you do long distance sessions?
Yes, I do distance. I have clients all over the country.
Sure.
So yeah, I do distance healing. I do distance readings. Energy travels through. Oh my God, my words. Mercury retrograde, but energy travels through time and space. So it's almost like you are present at my practice. People feel as though I'm there. So that's how powerful it is.
Yeah. And it's like that in the Patreon community. So if you want to get a glimpse of it, you want to, experience it in that way, in a collective group effort, join the Patreon community, and you'll get access to some of those calls that we'll be having, because she comes through and drops the Reiki master heat, on us all the time. So I give gratitude and thanks. I'm looking forward to the next one. And so we'll see y'all tomorrow night, tribe. I appreciate you again, Millie. And so I look forward
to having me, Ashe.
Already, it's an honor and a pleasure. So with that, tribe, we'll see y'all tomorrow night. I believe we're going at 10 p.m. tomorrow Eastern. So we'll see y'all tomorrow. Don't forget to please like, share, and subscribe. We out, family. Peace. Odabo.
Ẹni tó gbàgbé ilé ṣàpò ìyàgbọ́ tẹ́ǹtì ẹni takísà ní tàtàn ò bá padà sílé anítìjàkọ ẹja lọ pé eégún mo ṣe nígbẹ́rẹ́ ìpàkọ́. Forsake not your ancestors and praise your